minimum, you should have 10% of what the purchase price of a home is. A $300,000 home, that's $30,000. And that might scare some of you, but it's the truth. Let's walk through an exercise. Let's just give a $1,500 total cost for the inspection on the home and the appraisal. The reason I mentioned inspection and appraisal is because those are monies that are going to be paid up front when you get to certain milestones with buying a house. It's $1,500 less our 30, we're at $28,500. Then let's go with a 1% earnest money deposit. Earnest money is the money that you as a seller give to a title company, a third party. It's money telling the seller that, you know what, these folks are serious. We're going to put 1% of the purchase price over here and a third party to let you know these folks are qualified, they're serious, they're moving forward to purchase this house, barring anything that's a deal killer in the inspection. And we're going to put it over here with a third party so that while they do their due diligence, you know that it's cool to take your house off the market, because as a seller, when you take your house off of the market and it's in a pending status, you potentially could miss out on other buyers that are interested in buying the home. So that's 1% with the earnest money. So let's deduct another $3,000, an upfront cost that you have to come out of pocket. And so now that $3,000 is sitting at the title company. And for you as the buyer, if after your inspection you want to move forward, when that $3,000 goes, it's paid in advance, and it goes, or it lessens the total amount that you'll have to bring once all of the services and everything is done and the closing estimate has been finalized and balanced. That will be deducted because you paid it up front. So will the appraisal. Okay. But the inspection, that's insurance for you to have a peace of mind knowing that you want to buy this house. So understand that going forward. At this point, the only money really at risk is the inspection money, because the earnest money, you could get that back if you cancel the contract within the option period. It's another term. Option period typically is 1 to whatever's negotiated as far as days are concerned, but let's say 10 days, 1 to 10 days, and let's say it's $10 a day. Okay. 10 days, $10 a day, that's $100. That $100 goes to the seller for the time that they have their house in a pending status while you do your due diligence to see if you want to move forward with the purchase, or to see if anything pops up to where there's a renegotiating. You guys are still negotiating. It's not a contract in the sense that you're moving forward to purchase, meaning all contingencies have been waived. Everything's been negotiated. The option period is over. We're moving forward. You're still in the dating phase, but you got a promise ring. Let's say it that way. And so that $100, that goes to the seller. Now, if you back out of the deal, the inspection money, the option money go bye-bye. You need to understand that when you're purchasing a home. If you decide to move forward after the inspection or the due diligence option period, then the earnest money, $3,000, the option money, the $100, that $3,100 is credited up front for the time of closing, the total consummation when everything has been added up. As you move forward, let's assume that everything goes well with the transaction and you say, you know what, I'm moving forward to buy this house. Option period's over, time's ticking, we got to get this loan closed. We, meaning your lender, you got to get everything buttoned up. The appraisal is ordered. I put the appraisal up front initially because I want you guys to know that's a cost out of your pocket. Someone asked me the other day, well, why am I paying for the appraisal, Robert? You're the lender. Well, that's an excellent question. And I know a lot of people might have that question. And the reason being is this: the appraisal is for your loan. So the house that you're buying, the lender is lending you the money based upon the value, the appraised value of said home. That's not something that we would pay for because it's the value that the house has to meet for your home loan. This is why it's very important to have a very good realtor on your team to make sure that you're buying in the right place. That being said, there's some contract things that could be done. There's some things on the lending side that can protect you if the house doesn't appraise for the value to where you could get out of the contract. But more times than not, what happens is the house appraises less in most cases, and I've seen a few where it didn't work that way, but the seller just lowers the purchase price and then there's more negotiations. But let's just keep it on the monies that's needed. And so from there, we're going to talk about the rest of the closing cost. So already, what's a part of the closing cost that confuse a lot of folks? I'm going to go over it again. You have your earnest money, your option money. Those are upfront. Contract is secured. All contingencies are waived, right? In that first section as well, you have the inspection money, whatever the inspector costs upfront. Contingencies waived. Now you're processing your loan and get ready to clear to close. Appraisal is ordered. That's the only upfront cost that you should have on the lender side. We're down to $25,400. And then now the other closing costs, there might be surveys. There is for sure lender fees, which would be in the box or section A of your loan estimate that you should have had by this point for sure. But then you have the title company. That's the place that makes sure that the property can pass from the seller to you without any issues. I always want to make sure you have an owner's title policy as well, just as an aside. Don't let anybody talk you out of that. There could be a surveyor that you might have to have a survey. There could be septic inspections, so on and so forth. Those are the closing costs. But the major part of the closing costs is a collection of the first year premium for your insurance. And depending on where you are, you could have wind and storm, you could have flood insurance, but that whole first year is collected up front. Okay. And then depending on the time of year that you close and where you're buying your home, if you're in a county, a township, a parish, when they collect taxes will determine how many months of reserves you need to have in your escrow account. I'll use Texas as an example. Taxes are collected at the end of the year. Let's say you're buying June of whatever year you're watching this in, okay, and you're in Texas. You close in the month of June, your first payment more times than not is going to be August. It becomes due August 1st. If you think about it, August is your first payment, September, October, November, December. That's only 4 months. And so then taxes come due again. January through August, those monies have to be collected. In that instance, what happens is we collect enough money to assure that when your taxes come due and you not own the home, you have the ability, or your service or the place where you're making the payment has the ability to make that tax payment. Right? And then there's some accounting adjusting for the time that the seller, had the home through July to help lower your total out-of-pocket expense. But long and short, the escrow account for the taxes and insurance is really the lion's share of your closing cost. And we're going to assume that the seller is not paying your closing costs. That is an addition. That's a lagniappe. If they do pay, great. But we're going to assume that they're not. So 25.4 is where we're at. Purchase price is $300,000. Okay. And so let's assume that we have another 3% for your closing costs. Let's say you're a first-time home buyer. Let's keep it conventional. Let's say you're doing a conventional loan. And so your income is at or beneath 80% of the area median income. You're at 80% of the income that most folks in the area have or less. You could put 3% down. So as a $300,000 home, of the closing cost of 3%, that's $9,000. And then the down payment is another $9,000. With all that being said, the reason I say you need 10% is because you should have, if my math is right, about $7,400 left over. Depending on where you are, if you're well qualified, through your principal and interest payment or your total monthly payment, let's call it $2,500, okay? 26. So if you divide $2,600 by 74, that gives you right at 3 months of reserves left over after closing. That's the key, guys. I did all of that. I walked through that exercise to say you need minimum 10% of the purchase price. And that's assuming that you're not getting any help from the seller, but you should be able to pay everything that you need to get into the home and still have 2.5 to 3 months worth of your principal, interest, tax, and insurance payment left over for you to start your home ownership journey. Why is that important? It's important because nothing lasts forever. New homes, pre-existing homes. If the disposal goes out, you're like, oh my goodness, I got to spend some money on a disposal. If you follow our methodology and you buy right, meaning you can afford 14 cents times your square footage. That's when stuff happens funds every month. On top of, you have 2 to 3 months, worst case scenario, of house payments in reserves. You take that money and you put that over into, now this is my maintenance account. And every month I'm adding that maintenance fee that Robert told me about, that 14 cents times the square footage. And when regular maintenance happens, you can afford it. When there is a balancing or a rebalancing of your taxes and or insurance, it's not a major surprise because you can account for it. Gives you time to shop for your insurance. Those of you that watch the channel, you know, we teach you guys how often you should be shopping for insurance. We teach you guys how to dispute your tax increase and understand it. Just recently did a video on that. And so the point, guys, is this. No, you don't need 20% to put down. If you do have it, great, because then you can get around private mortgage insurance or PMI and have different strategies. In a lot of cases, it's more important for you guys to get onto the property ladder and then work with your team to put you in the best position as you go forward, i.e. you have a plan and it's just not, I bought a house. So hopefully all that makes sense. A little different. Going into the National Home Ownership Month, we have to start doing more tactical type things to show you how much you really need, because a lot of you guys are on the sideline thinking you need all of this money. 10% minimum, and in the environment that we're in, you should be able to get minimum 3% seller concessions. Every one of the deals that I looked at, and I didn't cherry pick, they got on average 3% from the seller concession, seller help. And that will increase the amount of principal and interest, taxes, insurance that you have after reserves, that you have after you close. What a lot of us aren't doing is we're not taking that money, putting it in a high yield savings account or segregating it as this is the house fund to manage the house for all the things that I just mentioned and some things that I probably didn't. You can't take that money and go shopping and buy furniture and all those things, because what's happening is you're house rich and cash poor. If you are ready to move forward, to find out where you stand, to get onto the property ladder, you're ready to go right now, I would love to have a conversation with you. Click the link in the top pinned comment or in the description of this video. Schedule a consultation call. If you're not ready, that's fine as well. Watch these videos. They'll add onto your education, your understanding of what home ownership really means, so that when the time is right for you to reach out, you'll be very well prepared and understand what it is to be a homeowner. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. As I always say, guys, let's be good to one another. Let grace abound. Y'all stay blessed. Indeed.